Hello and welcome to my world of crochet. My name is Dina and in this video I'm going to teach you how to crochet this scrunchie, which you can see here in my hands. Should you have any question regarding this tutorial, please feel free to ask them in the comments down below and I will do my very best to answer them. If you like the tutorial, then you can support me by liking this video, subscribe to my channel for more tutorials, and ring that little bell so you get notified whenever I do post new videos. You can also support my work by sending me super thanks. For this tutorial, you need a small amount of yarn. It can perfectly be a scrap yarn. And in my case here, I have some leftover yarn of a Go Handmade Velvet Fine. And I will be using that together with my crochet hook of a 3.5 millimeters, which we have here. So this is just like some scrap yarn, which I have left over from a project. And it's a perfectly fine yarn. It's a velvet type yarn or plushy type yarn. And here's some information on it. It's 100% polyester yarn. It's weighing 50 grams to 190 meters, and it recommends crochet hook size 2.5 to 3.5 millimeters. Lay flat to dry, can be washed at 40 degrees, so 104 Fahrenheit. Don't iron, lay flat to dry, etc. But theoretically, this could be any yarn that you have available, and you just need to use a crochet hook of the corresponding size that is required by the yarn, and you can always maybe size down a hook. It kind of depends on the yarn and the amount of drape you want to give it. And then also we do need a seamless hairband, so I use the seamless types of hairbands because then the yarn won't stick to any metal. Therefore, the seamless are the ones I recommend. Then, of course, the crochet hook, as we mentioned just before. I will also need a scissor to cut the yarn and a darning needle to weave in the ends. I will start by grabbing the working end of the yarn. And here I will create a slip knot. And before I insert my hook, I take this headband, I slide it over the slip knot, and then I insert my hook on the other side, and then I tighten up the slip knot so that it is in between the knot here and the hook and the yarn. Then I yarn over and pull through. And then I basically here keep the end of this working end so we can weave in the end at the same time. And I will simply start by working in single crochets all around this elastic band until I'm all the way around. And there isn't a specific amount of stitches you need to do. It's just basically crochet enough stitches here so that you fill around the whole band with single crochets. And while you do it, you do single crochet around obviously the ending tail, which the start of the yarn was, so that you automatically weave it in, so you don't need to weave this end in later, so we save ourselves a bit of extra work. So basically I am now just gonna crochet, single crochet all the way around this band. And then when I have done this, I will get back to you. As you can see, I've now filled the whole elastic bands with single crochets, but there are still a few gaps here and there where you can see the elastics. So what you wanna do is to make sure that they are somewhat tightly around each other. So you just pull them a bit together, each of the ends, so that you can squeeze in additional single crochets. So you basically want it to be a tight round of single crochets next to one another. So here you can see I work in extra single crochets around the headband. And this is simply to ensure when you stretch it that you don't see a bunch of black headband behind. So we keep working in these additional single crochets to make sure the whole headband is full. And we are getting there. Let's see. We do need a few more. So I'm just gonna fill up this headband so we do have enough single crochets to fill around. So the whole headband is full. So that's basically what you want to make sure, that all the single crochets you have are snug tightly around the headband. This both prevents the elastic to be seen through the headband once you're done, but it also helps giving this extra drape and flare to the scrunchie. So we are still having some that needs to be added here, so I will just add a few more single crochets, and then we are ready for the next step. Like this. To finish this round, we work in a slip stitch in the single crochet of the previous round, and then we start by chaining one for the next round, and then we will proceed by working in 3 double crochets in each stitch. If you want a more flared look or a longer look on your scrunchie, you can also option to work in treble crochets. But I'm just choosing to work in 3 double crochets in each of the single crochet stitches of the previous round. And that is quite some double crochets to go before we are done with the round. And that's mainly because I've used a somewhat thinner yarn. If you have used a thicker yarn, you may have fewer stitches. Of course, it also depends on how big your hairband is, the one you start with. But yeah, so right now, this is just about working in 3 double crochets in each of the single crochet stitches of the previous round to finish up the scrunchie, or finish up the second round, which is the second and last round of the whole scrunchie. So I am going to work in 3 double crochets in each of the single crochet stitches of the previous round, and then I will meet you back here again when I'm done. As you can see, I'm just missing the last 3 double crochets here, which I am gonna work in. So 1, 2, and a 3. Then I'm going to slip stitch into the previous double crochet, the first double crochet of the previous round. Then I'm going to yarn over, and before I do this, I have of course cut the end of my yarn, and I'm going to pull through the yarn through here, tighten it a bit, and then I am going to yarn, or put the yarn through my darning needle, and I'm basically gonna weave in the ends. Oops. If it wants to, of course. There we have it. Then I am gonna go down double crochets until I reach the center here, where I'm basically gonna go through the loops of the single crochets, I need to make sure I don't pull it too tight, because then it comes to look funny. But I just need to make sure that the ends is nicely tucked in. And I did just do a few. Ideally, it fell off the needle. You do a few more rounds, and then basically your scrunchie here is a complete and ready for use. So I'm just gonna wrap it up for the last few more stitches, because I like to make sure that the tail end does not come loose. So I'm just gonna give it a few more stitches, and it's very easy if you go through the loops here of the single crochets when you're weaving in the ends. So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing here. And I like to do more. If you, depending on how long your tail is, you can keep continuing until you have it all finished, or you can cut off the end. That's completely up to your own preference. I'm going to cut my end here. And then that's it. And my scrunchie here is ready for use. And you can see how it lovely fringes up.